Yeah!
Another reason to stick with rideshares rather than the bus. Less judgmental eyes. This episode opened with some ladies in line for their afternoon sweets fix, only to be encountered by something very salty. Oh, so this is how the Sarge ended up on a watch list. Oh no wait, he's actually a different frog. But yeah, the girls deployed to deal with the horrible amalgamation of Kermit the Frog and Pepe Le Pew. Mr. The Mask, we beyond the fourth wall have a very strict restraining order against you, sir. Very fortunately, the girls managed to easily knock him out, and are we gonna get in trouble for showing these things? I mean, this is clear copyright infringement against Mr. Popo. At the Utonium lab, they were unable to turn him back to normal for some reason. Keropi's very distant cousin explained his situation in song. Granted, it wasn't bad, but am I the only one kinda freaked out over hearing the voice of Piccolo sing a variation of Swan Lake? I mean, come on, how awkward would it be to have a serious DBZ character just sing out of nowhere and... Sorry, I asked. Thank God at least the characters were self-aware enough to lampshade this and shut down the genderbend Majorika. But yeah, not too surprisingly, he claimed that he was a frog prince who needed a fair maiden's kiss to turn him back to normal. Cue Momoko jumping at the opportunity to score herself a free prince. Sorry Momoko, but he's already been taken by Videl. No, seriously, look it up. Their VAs are married. That's actually kind of cute. Thus, Momoko declared her intentions to break the frog's curse to the tune of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony for some reason. I mean, I guess it's because the composer himself allegedly said the famous opening motif was supposed to be the sound of fate knocking on the door, as they actually played it every time they said that word, but I think it more represented Momoko being totally deaf to what her friends and Force Farley figure were saying to her.
Yame!
Yeah, you gotta be careful around those troublesome little copyright claims. Also, points for lampshading that old anime cliche of the crocodile tears made with eye drops. That honestly seems more like a waste of perfectly good eye medicine. Still, Momoko managed to convince her friends to act as her wing women, but her kiss didn't do anything, as his actual beloved was this pink frog because they really need to signify this is a female frog. And unlike Disney's take on the story, there was no half-assed loophole that turned both of them back into humans, as both were, in fact, amphibians from the start. Yep, as it turned out, he was actually the inverse of the old fairy tale, or at least the version the frogs told, as becoming an anthro was a curse to them. Sir, could you please tell that to all of the furries out there? But yeah, that of course meant Momoko wasted her first kiss on an actual frog of all things, which got her to brush her teeth for the next few days, I'd imagine. Well, that was honestly kind of pointless. Can we just move on to the actually good love story featuring the Snek Lady with the big boobs? The second half of the episode opened on Sakurako on her way to pay Soichiro a visit at his college. She wanted to congratulate him for finding a job after graduation, which, to be fair, is quite the achievement in the current world economy. But of course, she wanted to make it a special occasion, which was shown through a rather clever little animated puppet show. I don't know, I just really like it when they manage to simulate this kind of stuff in animation. It looks technically very impressive while also getting across a very whimsical feel. And y'all messed it up. I mean, come on, you can't mix up the backgrounds like that. Meanwhile, the girls were aware of what Sakurako was doing, and hoping for the best, as they even noted that she hadn't turned into Sedusa recently, which if that's not one of the biggest jinxes I've ever heard, I don't know what is. Then again, it wasn't helped by Sakurako maintaining her low self-confidence, which was visually shown to us pretty effectively by showing us nicely designed background characters to really highlight how the lady in the apron and Jinbei stood out. Not that there's anything wrong with dressing like that. You just watch, this is gonna become the new trend. But until then, as the well-animated sunlight through the leaves literally highlighted, our confectionery lady was living in a different world than everyone around her. And when she finally did find Soichiro, he was busy talking to his female professor. Hey, could somebody turn down the overexposure in this greenhouse? It's making this obvious misunderstanding seem twice as dramatic as it needs to be. I kid, of course. As I just said, I found the direction of this segment to be some of the best of the series. Yeah, some of it is incredibly on the nose, but at the same time, I don't think they have to overcomplicate things as long as it gets the story across effectively. Anyway, Sakurako got out the very lipstick that Soichiro gave her back in episode 28, while said Bo watched and discovered her little secret. Bruh, this is no time to practice your rowboard exercises. From there, Sedusa managed to transform into the female professor, Kinosaki, without any makeup. Yeah, you could say this was a major inconsistency, as Sedusa has always needed at least a little makeup to perform her transformations. Or maybe it's just a sign that her powers have evolved, especially as Sakurako's insecurities have built up over the course of the series. I personally do think it's the latter, as it does give her one of the most OP abilities in the show, which is appropriate for the character, considering this will be the first and last time she'll ever use it. Anyway, after a pretty hilarious montage of the disguised Sedusa causing chaos across the campus looking for Soichiro, that somehow didn't lead to the real Kinosaki getting fired later, I guess they were just too scared to deal with her, Peach detected her, and Ken was somehow able to correctly identify her, even though from his perspective, Sedusa looked more like a college prof going into full Karen mode, but whatever, the girl's deployed. And eventually, she did find Soichiro while still in disguise, and unknowingly, he told her the truth that, not too surprisingly, he was turning down the job offer in order to continue his research. Yeah, who would imagine talking in such an overly dramatic fashion would have led to an easily avoidable misunderstanding. Said research was meant to help the person he was in love with, which of course turned out to be Sakurako, so yeah, he just confessed his love, so we all good, right? Sakurako? Yeah, unlike with Himiko and Princess, who at least seemed to recognize herself as the same person and was just unaware of any changes, Sedusa outright denied identifying as Sakurako, even though she did seem to be aware that they shared the same body and memories. Needless to say, this was a very severe case of dissociative personality disorder, with Sedusa seeing her other self as unworthy of Soichiro's love and her as his true partner. And yet, in one of the strongest moments for this series, Soichiro managed to force her to face the fact that they were the same person, having gone through his own little arc of accepting Sedusa. This resulted in the two personalities starting to collide, and made her realize that she also couldn't accept Soichiro's love as Sedusa because... Yet, in spite of all of this, Soichiro was able to accept her in whatever form, which resulted in her fainting and almost falling off the university roof. Soichiro tried to save her, but fortunately the girls, oh yeah, this was their show, wasn't it, managed to save both of them. Later, Soichiro revealed that he was researching red bean farming so that he could supply Sakurako with his own product, rather than looking all over the place for them like back in episode 31. And from there, he was planning to pop the question. With that, the episode ended with the girls truly believing that they had seen the last of Sedusa, but whenever Soichiro just so happened to talk to a pretty girl, Sakurako would again reach for that lipstick. So yeah, this is a definite case where one segment easily overshadowed the other. I mean, to be fair, the inverse Frog Prince wasn't bad, but it also didn't have anything that really stood out about it other than who was voicing Pepe here. Then again, I'm not sure if many stories could have overcome one of the best segments of this whole show. Love can take many forms, so it's best that you get to know your partner, maybe do a background check if at all possible. Again, there's really not much to say about the first segment. It's basically just an anime version of the Frog Prince, complete with the original voice of Ataru Moroboshi acting like a bigger slime ball than ever. Good thing he retired and gave birth to a clone of himself in that new series. But yeah, the actually noteworthy rom-com of this episode was the final outing of Sedusa. Yes, she still exists within Sakurako, but this would be her final proper appearance for the series. Besides, even if she did appear again, I doubt she'd actually do much, as her arc was very effectively closed here. From the start, she was the creation of Sakurako, suffering from her own negative body image, ignoring the fact that her figure was perfectly normal, especially considering that she ran a confectionery. But because she had put Soichiro on such a high pedestal, she had come to believe that he wanted, nay, deserved a girlfriend with some very generous proportions. Thus, the black light turned her into that, as well as gave her an unstoppable desire to become quote-unquote more beautiful. Interestingly though, unlike with Himiko, who at least has some degree of symbiosis with her princess persona, Sedusa was always a fully split personality. This might have been because Sakurako believes Soichiro deserved someone better who wasn't her, as she knew she couldn't just change her body without getting under the knife. Even if she did have a negative body image, she also didn't want to change herself into something that wasn't natural, a monster. Sedusa's final lines seem to suggest that the personalities were merging back into one as she realized that Soichiro would accept her in any form. The dude himself went through a decent arc in this episode, at least for someone who's mostly been a satellite character throughout this series. But yeah, needless to say, this take on otherwise lower tier villain in the OG Powerpuffs was one of the best things to come out of this anime. Her whole arc was a great take on body acceptance without being too preachy or encouraging bad habits. As a result, and even though the girls didn't play much of a role here, mostly being around for some last minute saves and exposition, this was easily one of my favorite segments of the series. And overall, this more romantic themed episode was really good. I mean, the first segment was harmless enough unless you really hate frogs, and it at least led into a fantastic resolution for one of the best characters in the show. Whichever form you preferred, there's no denying that this Snek Lady left quite the impression in various ways. By tomorrow, we should have another Magical Girl Spotlight video up, and while I still don't want to spoil it just yet, it is a fun little series that I've been wanting to talk about for a while. Not sure when we'll actually do a full review of it, as it is actually one of the shorter series we'll cover, but there is still a lot to talk about with it. Still do look forward to it. Until then though, farewell for now my friends, and hey, could you do your little rainbow connection somewhere else? Hey, I don't want any trouble.